Okay, so in this video I want to talk to you about what is happening with a borderline when you are in the idealization phase. And if you're new to the channel, this is a vlog about my recovery, continued recovery and survival of being in a borderline personality disorder relationship with a woman who has borderline personality disorder. And if you are somebody who has borderline, this is a good place to come and see what it's like to be on the other end. I have nothing personal against people with borderline. I don't judge them. They're not evil. You have suffered tremendously. You have survived incredible odds that would have destroyed most people, so you are very strong. But you do have a mental illness if you are a borderline, and you are causing people irreparable, devastating damage that I guarantee you are not aware of. So I recommend that you get help for your own happiness, first and foremost, but secondly, so that you do not cause the damage that you're causing to non-borderlines. So what I want to talk to you about is what happens during the idealization phase. So this is the most important aspect to the disease, because without it, nobody would have anything to do with the borderline. Because the idealization phase is what draws you in. Now, the only people who are successfully going to get drawn in and hooked in are people who are damaged themselves. And based on my experience, they'll either be codependents, people who are codependent and of course are also damaged probably in childhood, who have low self-esteem, who have loneliness, who have parental issues that they're still working through. They're still trying to, create situations where they can repeat the neglect or abuse that they received from their parents. I've also seen that there's a strong chance that borderlines can be the codependent for narcissists, like full-blown narcissists. So they, from what I saw with the woman I was with, she either went after abusers, like people who were narcissists who would abuse her and put her and control her. And I understood that even as challenging as it was for her to be controlled, she did it because at least it distracted her from her pain. It gave, the chaos and the intensity of, being a codependent for, because they relate. It's the same issue. Borderline and narcissism is the same issue. It's neglect and abuse. It's just two sides of the same coin. But more than likely, if you're a narcissist, you're not watching this. If you are a codependent, then you are in a tremendous amount of pain. You're extremely confused, and you're probably losing your sanity. And again, as I said in the previous video, the damage that is being caused while you're in the relationship is devastating, and it is long lasting. So it's not like you get out and you're just gonna, I'm out and you'll be over. I've been in plenty of relationships that were stressful and even abusive and dysfunctional, and then you get out and you sort of shake your head off, and your bruises heal pretty fast, and you can go right back out. If you've been with a borderline for any length of time, which could be even as little as a few weeks, the damage that you're sustaining is real, and to be honest, I don't even know how long it's going to take me to fully recover. The longer that I'm out of the relationship, the more that I'm waking up to how devastating and debilitating the damage has been to me. I've never experienced anything like it. And it's important to understand that it is a disease. They're not just people with issues or problems. If they are in fact borderline, they are mentally ill. They do not have the same ability that you have. They do not even live in reality. You are not even a real person to them. They don't see you as a person, and they take no responsibility and have no remorse for the damage that they will continue to inflict upon you. You are just a meal for them. What we're talking about today is the idealization phase. So this, as I said, this is the most important phase because without it, you wouldn't get hooked in. And on your perspective, what happens is you meet this person and they are everything you've ever wanted. They, tick all of the boxes that you have for your perfect soulmate. There is this feeling of, oh my God, I found my soulmate on both sides. They're going through the same thing. And so you're going through normal projection, normal human projection, which is you're idealizing them, but you're seeing them as human. You believe that they have all of the characteristics of a human. They have the ability to remember. They have the ability um, to take action based on choices. Borderlines can want to love you and want to marry you, can want to make a life with you, but that desire doesn't take hold or take root, and it doesn't make any changes going forward, which means that whatever they're feeling today, they might not feel tomorrow or even in 10 minutes. That's going to be confusing for you. You're going to think you did something wrong because normally with a non-borderline, um, when you have a loving experience that goes and that takes root, they wake up the next day and they'll still operate from that memory that's been logged into the hard drive of their identity. Since borderlines do not have an identity, it's extremely important you understand that. They do not have an identity. They cannot log any experiences or feelings in any profound way, or even in any way at all sometimes. And so the next day, whatever they said or whatever you experienced or whatever you're still operating from what happened yesterday, they're only operating from today. And they have a vague memory of you and that you made them happy, and that if they haven't been triggered, then they're going to sort of try and go through that fog and try and recreate it again, which makes for this really intense emotional relationship. If they're idealizing you, which means that the love that you think they're pouring on you, which you think is going to continue forever, what's happening for them is that they are trying to keep the high going. If they are a borderline, they are looking for an emotional high. This is why borderlines can be so impulsive and do drugs and a lot of sex. Again, you're probably having crazy sex all the time, having a lot of sex, and the sex, unless they have, like in my case, she had been abused sexually, so the sex was sometimes there and sometimes not. But when it was there, it was so unbelievably intense and amazing that kept me going. And the thought of that, even like I'm looking like months after the idealization phase ended and I was getting nothing but pain, just the thought of if I can just get her back to that place again, at least for a day. I mean, it was just, I became so addicted to the intensity of the sex. But whatever you're experiencing in the idealization phase, the love, the sex, the emotional intimacy, all of the things that you think are coming from on the other end of a real person, it's not going to last. And when it comes crashing down, it's never going to be like it was in the original phase. What's happening in the original phase, and finally I'm getting to the point here, what's happening in the first idealization phase is that they see you as a parent. They see you the same way an infant looks at their mother. And the mother has the mother's milk, and so they're latching on to take that milk, which they get through an emotional high. They are only interested in feeling that you love them. They want to be idealized, so they start by idealizing you and loving you, and what you think is devotion, but it's not, it's need. They latch onto you and they intensely, want to bond, but the bond doesn't have any glue to it. You, on the other hand, as you're bonding, you are gluing yourself to them, which is why it's so confusing and damaging when they separate. But they're not bonding to you. because, like an infant, the need isn't getting fully met. The need will never be met until, they get much older. But they're stuck. They are emotionally arrested at whatever age they were at when the damage and the neglect and the trauma happened, which could be anywhere from like zero, like brand new born. They could have been damaged at that level, and they're still stuck there on an emotional level, all the way up to 4 years. I hear that 2 years old is kind of where they don't get past the age of two. But I think they can be even emotionally arrested even younger than that. And so that's how they're looking at you. So imagine when you're with them. Of course, now by this point, you've passed the idealization phase, because during the idealization phase, you don't think there's anything wrong with them. You think they're perfect. And the old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If their love seems unending, and their adoration of you seems unbelievable, and their ability to love you and give to you and give affection to you seems ultra human, and you within a couple of days you're talking about love and marriage, and you're the ultimate, and I've never seen anybody like you. Especially they will say things like that. They will say things like, you're the best person, you're my favorite they will use those exact words. You're my favorite person. What she would say, you're the best because you do all the things, and she'd do it in a little girl voice. What she meant was, you do all the right things to make me feel good. And you'll feel as though you're the first person to ever meet those needs. But you're not. You are a long line, a string of people, and there will be another one after you, guaranteed. Somebody else will come along, or more likely they will target somebody, because that's what they do. They target who they want. You're just walking along and they show up. She targeted me online. She found me online and targeted me, and from the very first message made it clear that I was the target. She had chosen me. And that's great for your ego if you think that they're a real person, but they're not. They're not completely formed. They're still at the age of an infant. They can be if they, I understand, they can if they get therapy for borderline, but that's the other thing too. If you're with them and they talk about getting any other kind of therapy other than for borderline, it's just a waste of time. And they've most likely already been to doctors and therapists who have prescribed them medication, or said that they have anxiety, or said that they have depression, and they get misdiagnosed all the time because they're brilliant. They are good manipulators, and they're good at telling people what they need to hear in order to get what they want, if all they want is just to get some medication. But if they are truly borderline, my experience is, at least the girl that I was with, that she was willing to pretty much go do anything. Go see some witch doctor, or go to see, go have some hypnosis thing, to deal with trauma. But to actually sit down with a psychologist about investigating borderline, that was just so frightening to her that she would do literally anything but that, which is a very good sign, because that's the denial, because part of them knows that their defense mechanisms are going to be directly dealt with. Bear in mind that all of their behavior is a very elaborate defense mechanism. And so, like any defense mechanism, the thought of having your security blanket taken away from you is very frightening. So the thought of actually being confronted with their real disease is going to be extremely challenging. And apparently some people can do it. But again, the woman I was with was not. So bottom line is, the idealization phase is not real. It will not last. And it is guaranteed to come crashing down. And if you keep your eyes open, you will see the cracks appear, and they will appear immediately. You will catch her going into, or him, They're mostly women, but it can be a man too. You will catch them in their idealization phase as you will see that they will become disappointed with you, and then they will scramble to repair that because they don't want to admit that you're not their ideal, that you're not their parent. And so there may be a few little bumps, there might be some chaos, like 70% great and 30% chaos. But if you listen to what they say during those, when the cracks hit, the cracks will get bigger and bigger and bigger until they can no longer, put duct tape on it to keep you idealized. And then it will come crashing down. And it will go from you're perfect to I can't have anything to do with you, or raging at you, or disappearing, or something. And you will wonder what you did wrong. And because if that a normal person, this perfect person loves you like that, and then all of a sudden they don't love you anymore, then you're going to try and figure out what the hell is going on here. What just happened? What did I do wrong? She was so amazing. I mean, if she's so wonderful, I must have done something wrong. And that's your codependence. That's your parental issues coming in. So, idealization phase, basically what's happened is that you are their parent. And the moment that they become aware that you are not going to be their parent and meet their needs, like a mother meets the needs of an infant, and they become disappointed in you, then it's over. It's just the beginning of the end. Just hang on, because it's just going to get worse. And if you're lucky enough, I don't know anybody. I don't. If you're lucky enough to have just gotten past the first idealization phase, get out now, because you'll probably be able to recover much more quickly. If you stay in it, because here's the other thing, they're going to bring you back. Once they attack you, leave you, rage at you, whatever it is that they do, they're going to come back, and they're brilliant at knowing when you've started to regain your control again, and they'll come back and they will hoover you in, and they'll idealize you, this time for a much shorter period, and then they will attack again, and it's just going to get worse. The only thing that's going to happen is your pain is going to increase exponentially, and your feeling of insanity is going to increase exponentially. So get out. The kindest thing you can do is just say, this is too toxic for me. I have to leave the relationship. And if you still want to have connection with them, then say, if you get therapy, and after you've been in therapy for a few months, give me a call. Until then, I can't have any contact with you. And even then, I would just suggest just getting out and just walking away. Because even in therapy, it's going to take them a while, probably a long while, before they're able to, function normally in a relationship. So that's it.